really put over everything that we had learned in building our Brightline Florida system. And I'll first want to show you guys a video. I'm sorry for the folks that are sitting here, but hopefully you can see. First want to show you a video of what we're building. A little bit of, you'll see of what Brightline Florida is, the system that we built between Miami and Orlando. And then we'll give you guys an overview and happy to answer questions after that. So we can roll the video.
Around the world, the most important cities are connected by modern, high-speed passenger rail. But in America, we lag behind. Since the 1950s, we built our prosperity on Eisenhower's interstate system, fueled by cheap gas and our love of Detroit's finest. Today, we've reached the end of the road, backed up, behind, and looking for an alternate route. America needs to build a better way to get there.
We have a huge opportunity here to provide fast, safe, reliable, clean transportation in this country. And like the rest of our infrastructure, we're way behind the rest of the world right now. We need to remember, we're in competition with the rest of the world.
Introducing Brightline West, America's first true high-speed rail project. Brightline West, in partnership with the Nevada and California Departments of Transportation, will reset the global standard for high-speed train travel in America, connecting two of the country's most vibrant regions, Las Vegas and Southern California.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to have a state-of-the-art high-speed rail system, the first of its kind in the West.
This modern, eco-friendly, high-speed rail network will strengthen our economy, create new opportunities for everyone, and reinforce American competitiveness to rival the best of Europe and Asia, laying the foundation for the greenest form of transportation in the world.
Having Brightline West come to California is going to help jumpstart us in achieving our zero-emission vehicle goals.
Today, about 50 million annual trips occur between Los Angeles and Las Vegas, over 85% of them by car, a trip which is unpredictable, unreliable, and challenged by congestion. Flying, too, is inefficient, expensive, and filled with delays. Brightline West is based around the company's first system built in Florida, which launched in 2018, connecting Orlando to Miami. Both systems will transform how we think about our nation's infrastructure, using existing roadways for high-speed rail. Brightline West is engineered to utilize the middle of the existing I-15 freeway, giving new life and value to one of our most traveled and critical highways, and creating the model that can be replicated across other city pairs that are too short to fly and too far to drive.
After having ridden Brightline in Florida, we are excited to have Brightline West come to California.
The experience starts at one of our new multimodal stations and continues as you board the fully electric trains packed with innovations and amenities that bring comfort, convenience, and safety to every journey. Riding in American-made trains that can hit speeds of 200 miles per hour, passengers will glide past traffic jams and enjoy the dramatic landscapes, arriving refreshed and ready at their final destination. Years in the making, the time has come to stop dreaming and start building. After 17 years of study and approval, engineering and design, and learning from the heralded proof of concept operating in Florida today, the moment to act is now. A comprehensive environmental approval process is nearly complete. Next generation trains and stations, conceived through the lens of today's traveler, are ready and will be American-made. Smart, efficient systems have been engineered, and a skilled union workforce stands ready to deliver. Today, proudly showcasing American ingenuity and resources, Brightline West is shovel-ready, set to break ground in 2023 to tackle one of our country's greatest infrastructure challenges. Tomorrow, travel will be safer, faster, greener, and more enjoyable.
But we have to do more than just build back. We have to build back better. And today we have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to make investments that can help America get back on track.
The landscape of transportation is changing through this unique public-private partnership and supported by the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. The Nevada Department of Transportation and Brightline West will lead the high-speed rail revolution in the U.S., transforming the travel experience, producing far-reaching environmental benefits, creating thousands of jobs, and stimulating billions of dollars in economic activity. We are Brightline, and together, we are building America a better way to get there.
So it's a long video, but it's worth watching because I think seeing is believing. I grew up in the Northeast, and so I was used to taking transit. And then when I went down and worked on our Florida project, our Brightline Florida system, which we're very fortunate that we've taken a lot of people that have built Brightline Florida, and actually our headquarters is here in Las Vegas, but frequent between California and Las Vegas. You know, we were able to bring a lot of those lessons learned. And what we saw in Florida was we live in a car-centric culture in America, but it's because we don't know what else is out there, I think, is my theory behind it. And in Florida, we were very successful in getting people this like car-free, carefree lifestyle. You know, I
and
believe
our love
it's here
of
too.
Detroit's finest.
So
Today,
sorry. Go on. We can use the slides back again if that's okay. I'll start, but so I want to share a little bit of how we got into the trains. I think as a company is a start. How we've our company. Florida East Coast Industries was actually founded in the 1800s. We were one of the first, what I'll call tributary railroads in Florida that really kind of created the density that we know today in the state of Florida. We came into that company in about 2007, and it was predominantly just a freight train at the time. They had stopped running passenger service in the middle of the 1900s, and it was and still is today, a very successful freight business. However, what we saw was there was so much density around these cities in Miami and Fort Lauderdale and West Palm Beach, all the way up the east coast of Florida as we know it today, and it felt ripe for a passenger service. And so what we did is we actually used the existing right-of-way that was within the freight corridor because there was excess right-of-way there, and used the existing tracks and then built new tracks to build what is today our Florida high-speed passenger rail system. The reason we did this is we looked around the globe and we call them too long to drive, too short to fly, but it's these magical medium distance corridors that are 200 to 300 miles. If you think about London to Paris, or Rome to Naples, or Rome to Milan, or Paris to Lyon, or any, the full Shinkansen system in Japan, it works. It's typically the preferred mode of travel for these medium distances, and it replaces predominantly in most areas what people would drive. And we've been, I think, very successful at the right time in this country investing in highways. We have over 150,000 miles of highway. We have over 140,000 miles of freight rail system in our country. We have 15,000 public airports, which is amazing, and it makes us, the best in infrastructure in the world. But as you can kind of see from the video, and we know all too well from the I-15, it's aging and it's becoming more expensive to maintain and more time consuming to expand. And so to have another option to throw into the mix, we thought was, our destiny, and we wanted to bring America high-speed rail as a private company. So we started Brightline Florida in 2014. We finished our first phase, which is from Miami to Palm Beach, in 2018. And actually, I was in Orlando on Wednesday. I remember my days now. I was in Orlando on Tuesday and Wednesday. We had what we call our Golden Spike event, signaling the completion of construction. So we are completed on construction to Orlando. We're finishing our commissioning with the Federal Railroad Administration, and we hope to be running full trains on our 235-mile system this August, which is, super exciting and a long time coming. What it makes me even more excited for is America's ripe with other too long to drive, too short to fly markets. And I believe Southern California to Vegas is, one of the most obvious, if not the most obvious. When we also looked at building Brightline Florida and looked at the rest of the world, we looked at other comps and how could it be done and how could it be done quickly. And it, one of the ones that I continue to watch really closely is how China built their high-speed rail system. They went from a standing start in basically around the Beijing Olympics in 2008 to have over 26,000 miles of high-speed rail today. So today they have over 2/3 of the world's high-speed rail that they built from scratch. What I think is even more impressive of what they did is they built an entire industry around it. So everything that they do, they actually built within China. They created construction companies to do it. They created train companies to do it. They built an entire industry. And if you size that industry today, it's about 2 million people, which is the size of the American auto industry. So I think I'm so happy to have my job and to be doing what I'm doing. I'm so lucky because we have a tremendous opportunity. And I think giving people that experience will allow us to build, we'll follow the similar blueprint for what we can build here in America. We can go to the next slide. So you saw a little bit of the pictures in the video of Brightline, Florida. So our experience, I would say, that we've created in Brightline, Florida is what really distinguishes us. Sure, we provide convenience in terms of our timing. The full Orlando to Miami trip will be it's about 4 hour and 30-minute drive without traffic. We do it in about 3 hours. So you're definitely saving time. You're having flexibility in terms of the timetable schedule that we provide. But the big thing that we've seen and why we're getting over 2 million passengers a year right now, just on that shorter kind of 65-mile segment between Palm Beach and Miami, is the experience that we've created. When we were designing the system, we hired hospitality people and we hired like civil engineers and train engineers and kind of brought them together and said, what we've been used to, I think, as transit in terms of commuter services and day-to-day services is not going to work for these longer distance train travel trips. And so what can we do for customers? And so, you'll see from the pictures on the side, we've added the ability to bring bikes on there. You can see the aisle. It's fully ADA accessible in Florida, meaning you could bring a wheelchair all the way up and down the aisle, not just to a wheelchair seat. Our bathrooms, we photograph them. People Instagram about them, which I always find weird, but kind of comforting. So we wanted, something that didn't feel more sterile and something that felt like a hotel bathroom in that sense. Our seats, whether you're sitting in what we call our Smart, which is the standard class, or a premium, they're incredibly spacious. Even our Smart seats actually have more room than a standard first class seat in an airline. So you have a huge aisle and you have a large seat, and you're not paying necessarily a higher price for it in the sense of what you would pay for, premier travel on an airline or something comparable. All of that is kind of contributed. And then I would say what's not photographed here is our stations. Our stations are modern. They smell really nice with kind of a signature Brightline scent that people have actually asked us to turn into candles, which we have. We have free Wi-Fi from the moment you walk in our station all the way onto our train, and it's good free Wi-Fi. So it actually, you keep your signal and can do work or can enjoy the leisure of your trip. And all of those things have translated into huge customer satisfaction. We do our Net Promoter Score after every ride, and we're, feel very lucky, but we also work very hard at it. Our Net Promoter Score is higher than that of some of the world's most respected brands, like Ritz-Carlton or Amazon, or companies that I think we become used to in our daily life, like Amazon. What it's also translated into is obviously the ridership is about 2 million on a run rate just for that shorter corridor, not even opening to Orlando, which is pretty dramatic. And one thing that I would say I'm super proud of is we were the first system in the country, transit system, post-pandemic, to reach pre-pandemic numbers. So we came back the quickest in 2021, hitting our pre-pandemic numbers. The benefit of that, and you can go to the next slide, is we get to take all that out here. So a lot of the lessons that we've learned, both good and bad, we've gotten to take all of that out into creating our Brightline West system and, build the 2.0. And it's not that the 1.0 isn't great, because I think it's wonderful, but the 2.0 gets to be better, which is always wonderful. So what we're building here, we're building about a 218-mile system of new track between Las Vegas and Rancho Cucamonga. We'll have 2 stops in the Victor Valley region, high desert region. And what we're doing, which this is another lesson that we've learned in Florida, is the highest barriers to entry in terms of building higher speed rail or high speed rail is, where do you build it? What is your right of way? Where are you getting the land? And what we've found, and actually ironically meets a lot of these transportation departments' goals, is there's under or unutilized land, either in freight corridors or in highways. And we can repurpose that and actually create an income stream for the DOTs, but also create a barrier protected corridor, which we're doing here in the median of I-15, that allows us to do two things. One is it's incredibly safe, even safer than rail, which is typically the safest form of transportation. But it's fully barrier protected, having no crossings, so no interactions with freight, no interactions with other cars or other traffic, where you have to have those signalized crossings. And then the second thing it does, which is very important for this corridor, it allows us to be the first true high-speed rail corridor in America. We can hit speeds of up to 200 miles an hour in this corridor because we stand alone in a single-use corridor with no other interactions. This allows us to hit trip times that make it very convenient versus that of driving. And so our trip time from Rancho Cucamonga to Las Vegas is 2 hours versus, we were with folks from MGM the other day, and their span was anywhere between 4 hours at your best day and 8 hours and 30 minutes that they've seen on your average worst day. So not a great prediction. And more so what I think is like, when I drive it, it's the uncertainty of it. It's like not knowing, because you could start the drive and it's going to be, 3 hours and 45 minutes and you're feeling very lucky. And then an 18-wheeler, flips over and magically you're stuck. And so we provide great certainty and like over 95% on-time performance. And so you are never going to have to worry about the same delays that you might worry about on an airline flight or if there is traffic or delays for driving. What that allows, and in looking at other systems that have done this, is we can take a good percent of the market share. There's about 50 million trips today that are made between the Southern California market and Las Vegas, one-way trips that is. About 85% of those are made by car. So a pretty staggering amount are made by car today. And obviously the only way you could really do that is utilizing the I-15 in some way, shape, or form. And so if you look around the world, typically, if you save people 1 to 2 hours, you get 20 to 25% of the market share. If you save people more than 2 hours, typically those systems get about 50% of the market share. The highest one is the Eurostar, London to Paris. They get 80% of the market share, but they built a tunnel and water. This is the closest thing, tunnel and water, just given there's no other way around. We predict something very conservative. We predict the 20%, the lowest end of that, and we'll have us doing about 11 million passengers per year one way. The benefit of that, which I'll get to I think on a later slide, but we take a lot of cars off the road, and that's a huge benefit for a lot of reasons. The one thing that we did though, we originally, when we came into the system, it was Las Vegas to Victor Valley. It's a super viable system. It worked, but it could be made better. It could be made better by getting over the pass, obviously, and to make it accessible to so many more people. And so actually it was for us a little bit of a, if there are silver linings to COVID, a silver lining to COVID, we had time to actually go out and permit that system. And so we were able to find our Rancho Cucamonga station is about 1 mile off the I-15, again, all on public right-of-way that we're building in. And the benefit of it is it's at the Rancho Cucamonga Metrolink station. Depending on the year, it's the first or second most popular Metrolink station in their system, and it goes directly into Los Angeles Union Station. They're focused on expanding that greatly, time for the LA Olympics. And so you can get from Rancho Cucamonga to LA Union Station in that time in the 45-minute range. So what we actually are working with, and we have a partnership agreement with them in place, is align our timetables so that passenger have about a 10-minute connection. So you can get between Los Angeles Union Station, downtown LA, and Vegas in 3 hours. We'll brand their trains. We'll be able to sell a one-stop shop ticket. So, and you literally have to go down an escalator ride. So it sounds like it's one of the easiest connections you can make. And we've learned that actually works because our system in Florida has similar options that work like that as well. We can go to the next slide. So I mentioned we take a lot of cars off the road. There's a number of safety benefits that come with that. Again, we're building in the median in this dedicated protected corridor. We have no of those at-grade crossings, which are typically, interactions with other vehicles, whether they be trains or cars, always just present more concern. Not that they can't be mitigated, but they present more concern. But because we take 3 million cars off the road, and we are working with Caltrans and NDOT to put in about $800 million of highway-related work that's separate from our train to really fit our train. That's not only a benefit, obviously, for, taxpayers, a lot of you being from Nevada and California. We do about 300 million in Nevada and about 500 million in California of highway widenings or curvature softenings or a ton of basically highway and civil work that's being done to fit our train. But those two things combined create a much safer experience for the vehicle, travelers on the I-15. So we eliminate, 75 serious injuries and deaths per year. Like one would be okay with me, but like 75 is great. And who knows what the numbers will actually be. Hopefully, again, one would be enough for me. On the environmental side, and this was mentioned in our video, but when we built Brightline Florida, because we were building an existing freight corridor, we had a lot of at-signal crossings. We have over 300 crossings in our Florida system tied to that freight line because kind of Florida was built around us because it was built as the freight system before. And so we didn't have the opportunity to run it like true high speeds and build overhead catenaries and make us a true electric train. Here, because we are in the median and we are barrier protected, we are building a true all-electric train that is a true emission-free electric train. And then we are working with Southern Cal Edison to actually build out all of the power to support our train. Southern Cal Edison today is about 60% emission-free. We are working with them on, they want to be 100% emission-free by 2045. We're working them on a pilot program as like one of their first partners on this to try and be emission-free 2030 or even before then. And so with that combined, it's about 3 million cars off the roads, about 16,000 short-haul flights a year not flown, and it results in about 400,000 tons of CO2 out of the air each year. The other thing that we're doing is building in the highway. We're fixing all the culverts that are in the highway today, both for drainage purposes, but it also allows wildlife passage more freely. And then separate from this project, but as a separate project, we've partnered with Caltrans and the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, and we're building 3 wildlife overpasses specifically made for large mammals like bighorn sheep. And that'll happen actually with our project as a separate project to basically allow desert bighorn sheep to travel over the I-15, which hadn't been done before. All of this obviously, has a large cost to it. I would say we do it probably more efficiently than other systems using the lessons that we've learned in Florida. And so our project is about a $12 billion project. So there's a tremendous amount of just direct economic impact, but more importantly, and kind of what I said on the first slide, we want to be the blueprint and the start of the high-speed rail industry here in America. So we've signed agreements with both Nevada Building Trades and California Building Trades to actually build the project using union labor and have our contractors enter into PLAs. But we've also signed on with 13 operating unions, some of the largest, both railway and America's largest operating unions, to actually maintain and do all of the work once the train's operational. To our knowledge and to their knowledge, nothing like that's ever been done before. And so it gives us the opportunity to train workers in high speed and to start this industry so that as more systems get built, we're kind of redeploying it into other places. We'll have over 10,000 direct construction jobs just for our project, and we'll have about 1,000 permanent jobs after we're up and running. We can go to the next slide. So, as I mentioned, and a lot of you have probably lived here for a while, but it's been talked about for a long time. And I think that's kind of the opportunity for us as coming into the high-speed rail industry is people have wanted it for a long time. It just hasn't happened for a long time, but it's here now. And we are on the precipice of breaking ground on this system. And I feel very fortunate to say that, but we've worked pretty hard to do that too. We've invested about $600 million, since coming into this project in end of 2019 to get to where we are, to acquire all of the right-of-way. We are going to have all of our permits under the federal permits that we work through with the FRA by July, end of July of this year. We've advanced our engineering, working alongside, some of the largest engineering companies and alongside contractors on pre-con agreements. For years, even before we were there. And we're in a place that all of those things coming together, but for one piece, which I'll talk to in a minute, we're ready to break ground at the end of this year. The one piece, which again, they'll call stars align that bring this together, but 2 years, unbeknownst to us, Biden signed a $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill. And within that was $66 billion for rail, of which a large portion of that was for intercity high-speed rail systems with a focus on new systems. Now, if you think of in your mind, how many of those are there? There's not many, and there's definitely not many that have all their right-of-way and have all their permits and have construction readiness attached to them. So we'll call it fate, but we'll also say we planned it. Definitely didn't plan it. But we applied in April alongside the Nevada Department of Transportation for $3.75 billion as part of that system. We expect to hear in the next few months is kind of what the original schedule had held. And with that, plus all of the work that we've done, we can break ground at the end of this year. And we've got 48 months of construction, about 6 additional months of commissioning beyond that. And we'll be open in time for the LA 28 Olympics. And yes, like kind of what's the magic of the LA 28 Olympics? Obviously, I think Las Vegas and California, they're bedroom communities for one another in both international tourists, like most international tourists that visit Las Vegas also visit LA and vice versa. So that is wonderful to not have the I-15 have additional clog during that time. But what's interesting and kind of fun history is that the first high-speed rail system that ever opened was Osaka to Tokyo, and it was in 1964 ahead of the Olympics in Japan. About 10 days they opened before, so I hope we have a little more room than that. But it opened 10 days before the Olympics in Japan. Beijing, I told you that China actually opened their system around the 2008 Beijing Olympics. So, and we are working to open before the LA 28 Olympics. And so it becomes a point of national prosperity and showing the globe what you have. And so it's pretty meaningful for us to be able to do this. And to, I think as was said in the video, we're in competition with the rest of the world, and let's build a damn good system and go out and show them what we're building. So happy to answer any questions. But really also, I think just within the respective industry, we've gotten so much support. We feel like very lucky to have as much support as we've gotten. Continue to need it for the grant, just letting people know that this is an important project. We're putting a lot of people to work. The sooner the better, obviously for us and for all those jobs that we're going to create. And so I would ask just any continued support that we can get both for the grant, within these next few months would be very helpful.
Thank you very much. Very informative presentation. Open it up for questions, please.
Good afternoon. Thank you for that presentation. I have 2 questions. One being, what do you anticipate the average cost of a ticket to be? And my next question is, on that map, I saw the different cities, darker and lighter. I live in Palmdale, so I'm very interested.
Awesome.
Okay. Does that mean
Yeah.
it's going to stop at the Palmdale station?
So first on the cost. So, it's 2023, we're opening in 2028. So don't hold me to the exact number, but we've done a number of ridership studies. And again, if you look around the world at, cost per system, it's often $1. What we've been doing in our Florida system and what our ridership study, is intended for us to do here is about 50 cents a mile. So it's about $100 a ticket on average each way is what we're providing. If you look at obviously the cost of driving, gas, parking, everything, it actually equals pretty darn close to the cost of driving. And then most flights, unless you're booking very early on a thing, that ends up being more cost competitive than most flights as well. But that's what we expect the average cost to be. One way, 100 each way, 100 each way. On your second question for Palmdale, the High Desert Corridor is a project that's being led by High Desert Corridor JPA. Predominantly, Los Angeles County has been supporting that over a long period of time. We are partnered with them in every way. We share technical information. We're making sure that our systems are interoperable and connectable. And so the ultimate goal, I think for everyone, is to have kind of a unified high-speed rail system across the West. And so ideally, California high-speed rail connects all the way from San Francisco all the way down to Los Angeles. They have their stop at the Palmdale station. The High Desert Corridor actually connects from Palmdale to our Victor Valley station, where we've built for them to connect in kind of directly to our tracks. And then we take passengers to Las Vegas. And so it ultimately would be this seamless high-speed rail connection.
Thank you. Excellent. I can't wait.
Cool.
Other questions from board members?
Yeah, if I may. Just a couple quick questions here for you. How big are the trains? How many passengers on a train? And then how many trains are you expecting on a daily basis?
Sure. So we're still going through the procurement project on the train, but the trains are going to be about 450 people per train. We have the ability though to couple trains. And so we expect as we kind of, move into future years, and especially on peak periods, which ironically happen to be most times of the week now, we can double up. So we can run about 900 people per train when we have the need for it. We will run, hours will be like early morning to about midnight. And so we end up running about 35 trains per day on the hour, 17 in one direction, 18 in the other. We're building also, I should mention, The maintenance is the reason why. Obviously, you can't run even more than that. So we have maintenance of way on our track every night, but we've built our vehicle maintenance facility, which I guess I didn't include a picture, and we're building it actually right at Sloan Road here in Las Vegas, so it's at the end of a system. We're also building a maintenance of way function in Apple Valley, closer to that area. So we're going to have maintenance on both sides that we can attack too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Please.
Yeah, more of a comment. Thank you for the presentation. And thanks to President Joe Biden for his investment in the American infrastructure and the American people by passing the infrastructure bill. I think it's great. I'm a big fan of it. Like you said, we are lagging behind in the world in high speed. In California, we do have the, we're building high speed right now. We have been for several years now, with the bookends being in San Francisco and Los Angeles. But they're dense cities in the metropolis, and and the high speed over there goes through the valley where there isn't much density, and it's creating job opportunities, with the trades. Thank you for partnering with the building trades, by the way. And it's improving a lot of lives out there through apprenticeship, building the future workforce of America. So thank you.
That was the important for us, keeping that, we believe that the high desert is a big collection point and is obviously growing and is going to grow a lot more in the years to come. And so our Victor Valley station will be our main inline station for the actual alignment. The Hesperia station is pretty unique. When we signed on our agreement for that last mile with the San Bernardino County Transit Authority, they were like, we have a lot of traffic over the Cajon Pass from just people trying to commute. These people are doing, hour and a half, 2.5, like potentially one way, and a lot of times commutes each way every day to get to and from their employment. Is there any way that you could provide kind of a local rail service during kind of pre-times, as we're kind of getting trains to go to our Rancho Cucamonga station for the long term during the week? And so we'll provide, several thousand seats in terms of a local rail service from Hesperia to Rancho Cucamonga every day during the week.
Yeah, just a couple. This is going to sound a little silly. The first question I have, you mentioned the number of trains, and there's only going to be one track, I understand. Is that correct?
So there's about 56 miles of passing sidings. So if you look at it, systems like Renfe in Spain, not always do you have to build double track. A way we build it, again, more efficiently. So we're $40 to $50 million a mile versus over $100 million a mile, and it makes it feasible to build, is we're doing single track in the median with an abundant amount of passing sidings.
Okay.
So your trains can still, and they're long, they're about 10 miles each if you think about the passing sidings. So your trains can still easily pass. It just makes it so that you don't have to viaduct it the whole time, or in a lot of different areas that takes up the cost much more dramatically and makes it less feasible and time relatable.
Okay, so that probably answered my question, because I had a concern whether if it was like you start at one end and then you drive to the other destination and you're riding backwards all the way back, but I'm assuming that your seats are all going to be facing forward. And
you'll have the option. So the cool thing I would also say, again, benefit of having built Brightline Florida first, is the way that we do our seats is you actually buy your seat before. So it's not like an airplane where you're paying more for one seat or the other necessarily, but you're saying, I want to sit at a vis-a-vis table facing each other because I'm going with my wife and my two kids or my friends or whatever it might be, or I want to face forward and do work. And so I want to be at the front or the end of a car or something like that. You book your seat. So when you come on, I'm going to train car 7, seat, 5B, and you go to where you are. That makes it just less chaotic. It's less stressful. You know where you're going to put your bag. If you want to check a bag, you can do that before and know it's going to get to you right after. It also just allows us to service our passengers better.
And then my last question, which again, with issues of electricity in the state of California, and I used to live there, blackouts, is there any concerns that you guys are going to have any problems, or how do you guys circumvent not having access to electricity? You probably won't have that problem. I'm just kind of curious how that's being dealt with.
So we're building new substations in partnership with Southern California Edison. So we're bringing substations to those rural areas that haven't been there before. We're building new capacity and kind of investing back in the grid so that we're getting more capacity too. we're also building redundancy in so that if for some reason, one substation goes out, we can bring the train to safety back and forth without having any issues and have that redundancy. The other thing that we're really focused on with them in that area, because we're building in kind of that high desert region versus other, areas where there's more forestry, there's never been a blackout or brownout in the areas that we're building in. There's not as much, wildfire issues or reasons that have gone on there. So we're building them all in that region for that purpose. And what's pretty cool is before we came in, we got lucky. See, we're getting lucky a lot, but you can actually transport power between states. In California and Nevada, you can't put it back into the grid, but you can transport through. So we're actually only building the 3 substations in California and having them go back and forth because the power lives within our train through the overhead catenary system.
Thank you. Other questions?
I didn't really have a question. I had sort of a comment. I'm a Southern California resident, and having made that drive more times than I care to remember, I can't wait till you're done. How soon can I buy a ticket?
Me too. Well, actually, it was being in Orlando because there's a lot. Seeing it get completed the first time in its full form, it's pretty darn exciting. Like we're selling them, starting at the end of August, September right now, and makes you really excited for out here. So the big thing, and again, I mentioned this grant is meaningful. This grant is a meaningful thing. It allows us to partner with the unions and take on some of that premium. It allows us to, get in the ground and move really quickly. So the faster, I would say the faster the federal government can move and keep on their schedule, faster we'll get in the ground.
Thank you. Other questions?
Talking about that, not holding you to that $100 cost. Depending upon where your starting point is, I would imagine that the cost adjusts. Like if you're starting,
yeah, of course.
Palmdale
No, I'm talking about
versus-
from Rancho to Vegas.
Oh,
From Rancho to Vegas,
Okay.
that would be the cost for that ticket. The other cool thing that we have is, again, we will encourage and want people to take transit to transit. So we believe that both employees and others will use Metrolink a lot to get to us, and we're trying to improve kind of the quality of that system with them so that it feels and seems more like the utility you're getting from a Brightline. But we've also created in Florida, a little bit out of necessity, kind of coming out of COVID, but again, is an opportunity. We created a system called Brightline Plus. So it's our own ride share. They're branded yellow cars. They're all eco-friendly. They're all like Teslas or green cars that we've created. And they have all different sizes. So everything down from if you're coming really close, which makes more sense in like Miami in a dense urban area, we'll take you in a golf cart, to if you want to, go on with a lot of people, we have these medium density type vehicles that can hold like 14 people. And so you could actually book your ticket from like 101 Smith Street to like the MGM, and we plan everything in between. We plan your ticket, we find you the fastest way to get there. And so you don't really have to worry about how am I going to get there at the end of the day.
A couple of other things. I ride the train a lot from Palmdale to Union Station.
Nice.
So a couple of questions. Are you going to have an advantage for reduced rates for students and for seniors?
In Florida, we have different options. So we have a lot of different plans. We haven't created our plans yet here, so I don't know what they will be at the moment, but we have a lot of different plans with other discounts in Florida. So I'm sure we'll put that into kind of creating the system here too.
And is there any plans to partner with Metrolink so that people that are taking the electric train can park their car?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. In the interest of everybody's time, maybe one more. No, it's a wonderful presentation. Maybe two more questions. I think we'll do right here and then right there, and then we'll move on. But thank you very much.
Hi, Sarah. Earlier today, you actually missed a great presentation on women in construction.
I heard. I know. I'm sorry.
But what's phenomenal are projects like this that have a PLA in depth. It provides those opportunities to get more women in the trade. So because we spoke a little bit about the California high-speed rail, that one thing that's been beneficial was the amount of women who have been able to get into the trades on that specific project. So applaud the PLA that's been signed, the building trades. That's great news, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cowher.
Yes, thank you so much. It was very informative. I think we're all excited about this, but being a contractor, obviously, just curious how things get started construction-wise. Does it start in California, come to Nevada? Does it start on both ends? Like, how does this roll out over the next year or two?
This was another page out of the playbook in Florida. When we did our phase 2 system, it was in a similar way where it was It's not highly complex construction, but it's long. And so it's just a big expanse. And so we broke it up into 4 zones. Here, we're breaking it up into even more segments because it's even longer. And so everything starts with just the road work, readying our kind of, we'll call it the median, which is most of it, for the pad for us to build. And so we've partnered with, some of the larger civil firms in terms of, designing how we're going to do that. But it's 3 different contracts likely that will be 1 in Nevada, 2 in Southern California. Well, sorry, 1 in Central California, 1 in southern part of the alignment. And all of the road work will kind of meet at those points. That will go up to ballast. It'll provide all the foundations for the overhead catenary poles. And then we'll turn it over to our track contractor and our systems and signaling contractor. The track will come on. We've tied into Union Pacific and BNSF in 2 different places to deliver materials for that. And then they'll have at least 2 headways that they can come out with their track. And then the systems will actually work alongside them, filling in the overhead catenary poles, tying into the substations as those are completed. And then magically we'll be testing track using our vehicle maintenance facility in Sloan and testing basically almost from state line all the way to the Nevada portion for the last year and a half. So you'll see work getting done everywhere, but for the beginning of it, it won't look like much work because it's a lot of road work getting done. So.
Thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you guys very much. The last slide has some outreach information, so happy to answer follow-up questions if anyone has it too. Cool. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Maybe leave that up for a minute, please. We'll move our discussion now to cross-border projects. I'll turn it over to Mr. Vogt and Ms. Green.
Actually, Catherine White and Alan Guy, I think you guys were going to cover that.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Maybe not.
Thank you, David.
Let's do that.
We confirm, are we still on 4?
Yes, I'm sorry. I have this as under agenda item C4.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have anything to add for that. I don't, Margie. It was a great presentation.
Well, if that's the case, if we don't have anything to add, then I will ask, because I understand in California you need to, after each item, ask for public comment. So is there any public comment on this agenda item C4? Or any WebEx comment?
There is no one on the phone or the WebEx chat.
Thank you. So if I'm understanding correctly, we should move on to C5. Is that correct? Okay. Our next agenda item focuses on the public benefits of licensure and the efforts undertaken to promote consumer awareness regarding the importance of hiring licensed contractors. At this time, I'll turn the time over to Miss Lewis from Nevada and Miss White from California to lead us in this discussion. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
We're actually having Alan start with it, and then Jennifer and I were going to be.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you. Licensing agencies such as the California Contractors State License Board and Nevada State Contractors Board protect public health and safety by ensuring that contractors meet minimum standards and are up to date on current code requirements. Both boards are dedicated to promoting consumer awareness regarding the importance of hiring licensed contractors. CSLB's key outreach effort is through its Senior Scam Stopper seminars to ensure seniors hire licensed contractors for their projects. CSLB also gets its messaging out to consumers at disaster recovery centers around the state, ensuring disaster survivors do not get scammed and that they choose licensed contractors when getting their homes repaired. At outreach events, CSLB provides publications in both English and Spanish and several in other languages as well. NSCB is also expanding its number of publications in other languages. In informing the public about the benefit of licensure, CSLB's Public Affairs Office works with licensing on the monthly Get Licensed to Build virtual workshop, providing key details about how to apply for a California contractor's license. This workshop is held the first Friday of the month in English and the third Friday of the month in Spanish. Chief of Public Affairs, Catherine White, will highlight some of the efforts CSLB looks to implement to encourage the public benefit of licensure to underserved communities and the next generation of contractors.
Catherine?
Thank you, Alan, and thank you everyone for bearing with our technical difficulties today. So CSLB is seeking to expand its outreach to students. While California has a successful construction management education account that assists students in universities throughout the state, CSLB wants to reach out to middle and high school students, show early on how construction can be a viable career for them. Nevada has built sustainable partnerships with schools around the Silver State with trade-based curriculum programs and connecting students to industry professionals. CSLB also wants to expand its efforts to encourage women in construction, as Chair Teichert noted earlier. NCSB has held its annual Hammers and Hope events in both regions of Nevada for the past few years during National Women in Construction Week. This event features a panel of female professionals across the construction industry who share their testimonies, experiences, and insights on employment opportunities and expectations for a variety of positions. CSLB appreciates collaborating with NCSB and NSCB and will work with them on ideas on how to expand outreach to underserved communities and inform the next generations of contractors about the public benefit of licensure. Let me know if you have any questions. Kind of hoping to open up to discussion further. So Alan has a couple things that he'll bring up as well. And then Jen's also welcome to step in as well.
Thank you, Catherine.
Go ahead.
Are you speaking next or? Okay, great. One public affairs focus in the coming year will be developing messaging to emphasize the role licensure plays in consumer protection, providing databases to verify contractor credentials, providing direction to assist consumers when they have complaints. Do any board members of either board have any other ideas? I'm not hearing any. Industry integrity, providing publications and other resources to ensure contractors stay in compliance with changes in law, working with the Department of Industrial Relations and other agencies to encourage worker safety. Any other ideas from board members? White group this morning. Market benefits, promoting messaging about how licensure allows for a fair marketplace, encouraging market growth by encouraging underserved groups to pursue licensure. Third time's a charm. Any board members have any comments? Since this is an informational item, no action is required of the board. You're welcome.
Yes.
Speak now.
Good morning, members. Thank you for having us today. To expand upon our Hammers and Hope event, I wanted to thank Chair Teichert. I think your message about women in construction is both timely and certainly an initiative that the industry is fully behind and supporting. To kind of expand upon our event, what I find most valuable and something that I would hope the industry in itself would consider further, one of the things that we offer as part of that is more than just sharing information across women and professionals' experiences. We provide mentorship opportunities. And I think that may be an avenue that could be explored and expanded further. Also, helping women understand how their skill sets connect to construction positions. A lot of times, beyond just the concern or the perceptions of construction not being a women's field, I think we just have an entry level, maybe it's an interviewing. They don't know how to interview. They don't know how to take their skill set from their own career pathways and project that into a construction trade position that's available. What I mean by that is we want to let women know that construction is more than just construction. Construction is an industry. It's a company. It has every field. It has every position. It's its own business. It's its own entity. And I think letting women know that leadership positions don't just have to be those that have a hard hat. They don't just have to be, like Chair Teichert being the owners of the company. They can be the CFOs. They can be the HR directors. They can be the people who have the meaningful positions behind the leaders that are driving these businesses to the success that they have. So I think what we've seen through the Hammers and Hope event is that a lot of women are interested. They see after our event that they are inspired by the opportunities that really are available on a larger scale. So as we talk about women in construction, I just encourage you to broaden that, to think creatively about how you meet women where they are. And I know bringing a lot of the women in construction who are already in the industry is a great start, but empowering them to be that mentor to a community, whether that's hosting weekly or monthly meetings with women just to inform them about opportunities that are available, give them advice on interviewing. I mean, these are just kind of basic things that I think are lacking in a workforce development model, and just other areas that I would encourage you from our experience at Hammers and Hope that I think women walk away with feeling very inspired by. So that's just one comment there. To expand upon some of those other things, we also do workforce development discussions. I think there's a lot of benefit, of course, to reaching out to our next generation of leaders and construction workers through the high schools. And we also go down as low as middle school. A lot of great interest, actually so much so that through the leadership of Ms. Green, these schools and educational entities are reaching out to us and to book these events now. We're not having to go out and seek them. And a lot of that comes through the partnership with the industry directly. So we are just one spoke in that wheel, and we recognize that. But it truly is the partnership with the trade associations that helps to promote all of those initiatives. From a board perspective, we really are trying to expand our efforts on public workshops for the community, to obviously to gain interest and awareness about the benefits of licensure, to explain how to utilize the board's resources. We're undergoing finally our website development, so that's going to be an exciting launch, hopefully in the year ahead, and hopefully that'll provide a more streamlined and user-friendly experience for the public to engage with the board. We are also looking to host contractor workshops. You know, we want to make sure that whether they're unlicensed or licensed, that they also understand the value of their license. They know how to message appropriately. They understand that the laws that, you know, they've tested for are being applied in a proper way in the field, and that they're communicating their benefits to the public at large. So we have a lot of initiatives underway. We obviously always have room for growth and partnership opportunities. We learn a lot from California and the initiatives that you guys do through your senior scam stoppers. Seniors will always remain a priority audience of interest to us. So we just kind of look forward to expanding those. We recently had an investigative case where the industry stepped up. I think, you know, in my years with the board, it was the first time that I've seen, you know, I think it was close to 15 or 20 different industry members come to the aid of an elderly homeowner who had been displaced for 2 years after the harmful workings of an unlicensed contractor. And many of our board members, you know, supported that initiative and led that. And we had the opportunity to recognize those contractors recently at our board meeting. Things like that gain media coverage. And I truly think, you know, the opportunity to publicize those stories is really what speaks to the hearts of our communities. Those are the stories where people can relate to, whether it's a veteran. You know, we had a recent veteran story who was taken advantage of, and we're working to facilitate him and getting his needs met. Those are the stories that people connect with. I mean, we can talk about the benefits of licensure all we want, but until they see the effects of an unlicensed contractor or realize that personally, I don't think, you know, it's just an uphill battle. So I just encourage you to use those stories and your own experiences as platforms to share with others as you think about your media opportunities and messaging. And again, thank you, Chair Teichert, for your leadership in the Women in Construction. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from board members? Any questions from the public, right? Are there any questions from the public or any questions on WebEx?
We have no public comment.
Thank you. We'll move on. Next item is agenda item C6. It's relating to a discussion concerning partnering opportunities between our boards, and that discussion will be led by Ms. Green and Mr. Fote.
Oh, thank you. We did have an item that we didn't talk about our joint enforcement operations under item 4. And Dave, I'm not sure if you want to bring that up or not when you do. But we've also partnered with the state of California on unlicensed contractor task force meetings and our Western states enforcement gatherings. So any opportunity we have to bring together our investigative staff from each of our states and place them in a room with integral state and local officials who share similar goals in combating, prosecuting, and preventing unlicensed contracting from harming our communities is a win. These forums have demonstrated each of our states' commitment to working together, sharing information and resources, and collaborating on operational levels that promote consistency across our borders. We all have these unique but similar situations, which we both learn and grow from throughout these discussions. So with that, Dave, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I just would echo that we greatly appreciate our working relationship with the Nevada board and Nevada staff. I mean, that's been in place for a number of years. It's very effective. I was going to ask that the chair of our enforcement committee, Michael Mark, you might want to say a few words regarding this. And I believe Steve Grove, the enforcement chief, may share some of his thoughts regarding, not only partnering with Nevada, but with other states and other state departments within your state. So, Michael.
Yes, Dave, thank you. Michael Mark here. Obviously, Nevada, California bordering states. There are a lot of times where a Nevada contractor that's probably unlicensed is actually coming into California and vice versa. So one of the things that I wanted to key in on is in California, there's obviously different strike forces and actually items at the government level that there are a lot of partner agencies that are working together. I know I spoke a little bit about the Labor Enforcement Task Force. That is actually a partner agency of quite a few individuals including CSLB. Earlier was that spoke in the wheel. We are just one partner of many partners who are trying to make sure that the consumers of California are actually not harmed. One of the sting operations that recently was held was in Tahoe, and which is really good because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think we spoke about this last time in Nevada in San Diego in our joint board meeting, where making sure that all these sting operations are held close to the county. And so when Nevada contractors possibly come across the border to California, then they're cross-checking the licensees, because if it's in our data within California, and then making sure that they're also unlicensed in Nevada, and being able to make sure that these operations are jointly done. I know David wanted to speak a little bit more on the NASCLA stings, and I'm not sure if Steve Grove is on the call. Steve Grove, are you on the call? Sounds like it's not, so we'll turn it back over to Dave, and then I'll jump back in it.
Yeah, just regarding the NASCLA operations. NASCLA is the National Association of State Contractor Licensing Agencies, and most states that regulate contractors are a member, and Nevada and California have played a lead role over the years in conducting multi-state stings. And that's, I believe they're either wrapped up in June or they'll be wrapped up the next day or so. But what's important about that is that it shows a nationwide commitment to protecting consumers by enforcing licensing laws. And when we're out in California, and I believe Nevada is doing the same thing, if you can bring your partners into the operation, you can be looking at other areas as well. Licensure being our primary focus, but also, do we have a safe work environment? Do we have the workers' compensation insurance? Looking at all of that with the goal being to have a nationwide press release where we just emphasize the value that the license brings to the public. And I think that's the message. And I think by pooling our resources, it can be very effective, because we only have so many staff to be out investigating or to be working complaints. But if we can get the support of not only other states to identify the bad players, but also other state agencies to be considering the license requirement when they might be investigating for a wage claim, for an insurance violation, or tax withholding. That's been the goal, and I believe that's a goal that we've shared with Nevada over the years. So again, just really thank you all for the working relationship that we've had. I know when Paul was the director, we would talk about somebody that was posing a threat in Nevada, to make sure that if they come into California, we're going to have that person flagged, not going to give them a license. And that really does help with our consumer protection mission.
And then I'll jump back in. When it comes to unlicensed contractors going into, we're really big on like senior scam stoppers. I actually was able to attend a sting operation, and what's unfortunate is they're obviously going there without a contractor's license, and they're ready to break the law. But these individuals who are coming into these individuals' houses have other items on their felonies, warrants, and people are inviting these individuals to the house. And so for us, like when we're talking about fingerprinting and background checks, the public needs to realize you need to hire a licensed contractor, otherwise you could be taken advantage of. At the particular sting that I know Ms. White highlighted, some of these individuals have warrants and they're being asked to just get a quote for your fence. And what happens is that person, you're inviting someone in your house with no recourse. So public who's out there listening, make sure you hire a licensed contractor, the person who's actually coming in to do an estimate. So you don't know who's going to be showing up and knocking at your door. And I'll close with that.
Thank you. Just leave an opportunity for any final comments from board members of either board. It is a quiet meeting today. And finally, public comment from anyone in the room. Public comment from anybody on WebEx.
We have no public comment.
Screen, did you have something else?
I would like to thank all of you today. I think we had a very interesting and exciting meeting today, and I look forward to continuing these annual meetings. It's just great to see all of you again and new ideas for all of us, and I really appreciate you coming to our great city of Las Vegas.
Thank you. Chair Teichert.
And we'd also like to thank all of you for your hospitality. It's been wonderful to be in Nevada. We really appreciate and value these joint conversations and appreciate the strong working relationship as well as the lovely couple of days to spend together working on these interesting topics. So thank you very much.
We'd like to thank again the International Training Center for the use of this facility today. It was very kind, and we appreciate their hospitality and all the facilities they provided for us today. With that, I will call for adjournment of this meeting from the Nevada side, and then I'll turn it over to Chair Teichert to adjourn the California side. Can I get a motion from the Nevada board to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Aye.
Now, can I please get a motion to adjourn the California board meeting?
Motion. So move.
Second. Okay, the California meeting's adjourned. Thank you again.